Tell me what to do.
Approaching left turn.
On any given day, any one of us could think we have an attention disorder.
Dude, chill out.
But how do you know for sure? It turns out that the number of people diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, has been exploding in America. An estimated 15 million people have been diagnosed with it. 40% of them are kids. Tonight, I'm exploring the many paths taken by children with ADHD and how they and their families are coping with the challenges. Families that are trying medication.
I was at the point of save my son.
Families that are seeking alternatives.
How much more rejection could he take?
And me, I'm on a mission to understand the ADHD diagnosis and answer a question that I've always wondered about myself. Could I have it too? America, it can be inspiring and beautiful. It can also be dark and ugly. It's so many things, but it's ours. It's our America.
Okay, everyone looking at me, looking at me. Here we go.
This is 10-year-old Noah.
Nice job, nice work.
Tonight, he is focused and fearless.
Nice job, man, awesome.
For his father, Pete, a former high school wrestler, watching Noah's matches is the highlight of his week.
When he finds something that really makes him happy, it's fun to see that smile he gets on his face.
But Noah's wrestling isn't just for fun. It's one of the few activities that holds his attention.
You just gotta keep moving, okay?
Noah has ADHD. He's impulsive, hyperactive, and has trouble focusing. And for the past 4 years, his parents have used sports as a way to manage his ADHD.
I read an article saying that sports was a good alternative to medicine treatment for ADHD. So that's why I wanted to get him started in sports.
But as Noah gets older, physical activities like wrestling no longer seem to be enough to harness his excessive energy.
Noah, be careful with that knife, please. Put it on your plate.
Noah lives with his mother, 29-year-old Amber, his 2 brothers, and Amber's boyfriend, Nathan.
He can't sit still, and he's very fidgety. There's always something. He can't just sit down and have a family meal with us.
Billy, want to play football?
No, they ain't playing football in the house.
Fine. It's just busy, busy, busy 24/7.
Amber has found that Noah's inability to pay attention and follow directions is getting worse.
Noah, it's time to put the video games up and clean your room. Don't make me take the remote.
In addition to sports, she's tried everything, from changing Noah's diet to punishment and discipline. But nothing seems to work.
No. Give me the remote right now. I find myself yelling all the time. I feel like such a bad parent because that's all I can do. But if you don't raise your voice to yell at him, it doesn't get through to him.
What did I tell you?
Clean my room.
You're working on being grounded.
Everybody says you need to spank him. You need to discipline him some other way. He's just misbehaving. He's not ADHD. People don't understand that he can't retain the instructions that have been given to him.
Did you get more guys, Aiden?
While many Americans question the validity of the diagnosis, experts believe that attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is a neurobiological condition that causes significant impairment.
What are you guys doing?
Experts now use the term ADHD to describe the 3 different kinds of this condition.
Hey.
Noah.
Inattentive type, which people often call ADD, hyperactive, and like Noah, a combination of both. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Pro football player.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Your mom told me that sometimes you are a little bit hyper when you feel that way. Like, what does your body do normally?
I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I just feel all tingly and I have to do something.
Do you sometimes feel like you just can't stop moving?
Yes.
Do you sometimes wish that you could just kind of be mellow?
Yes.
Why can't you?
I try. It's just, I just can't get that feeling out of my system. It's a little scary because I'm like, why is this happening?
What's this all about?
I got a -10 on my spelling test.
That's an F, Noah.
Now that Noah is in the 5th grade, his inability to focus is beginning to affect his schoolwork.
Put down the football now. I'm not playing. It's time to do your homework. Get up here.
He hates homework. He just rushes through it and puts down every answer that he can think of. And it's not correct. Half the time we're up till 11 o'clock at night doing homework.
How do you spell it?
With D's and F's on his most recent report card, Amber realizes her son's future could be at risk.
If he cannot succeed in school, then what's he gonna do as an adult? Is he gonna go to college? Will he be able to make it through high school? These are all concerns that I have.
After consulting with Noah's doctor, Amber has just recently decided to try something that many parents and their children have firsthand experience with: medication.
After seeing the doctor, he is recommending that you get on medication, right? What do you think about that?
I don't care as long as it helps.
You really feel like you need help?
Yes.
Do you sometimes feel frustrated when you have a hard time on a test?
Yes. Every single test, I get like nervous. I can't think mostly because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like panicking mostly.
Yeah, I know that feeling. If you don't know the answers, you just kind of put whatever is in your mind?
Yeah.
Would it make you feel any better if I told you that I got the exact same way before every test?
Yes.
And I still, if I have to take any kind of test, I get that kind of anxiety.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm like that all the time.
Noah's fear of tests, his trouble staying focused, everything he shared with me has really hit home. I've long suspected that I, too, might have some kind of attention deficit disorder. Now I'm on a mission to find out exactly what ADHD is, how it's diagnosed, and what can be done to treat it. I'm headed to the Being Well Center in Pittsburgh, a clinic that specializes in the treatment of children and adults with attention deficit disorders. Hi, how are you?
If you'd have a seat, I'll let Dr. Lydon know you're ready.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
People with ADHD don't all behave the same way, so I want to know, how do doctors recognize and accurately diagnose it?
Lisa?
Dr. Craig Lydon has treated over 10,000 patients in the past 30 years, 90% of whom he has diagnosed with some form of ADHD.
So what is ADHD?
It's a genetically based problem that people come into the world with and take with them all across the lifespan. The key characteristics are difficulty sustaining alertness, difficulties with distractibility, poor self-monitoring, not paying attention to the feedback coming from the world. So both ADD and ADHD are umbrella terms that sort of capture this whole collection of behavioral characteristics, when in reality, only 10% of people with ADD are truly hyperactive.
The number of people who've been diagnosed with ADD and ADHD has exploded in recent years. To what do you attribute that?
It's paradoxically both overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed. There are people who don't have the problem, who are diagnosed with it by people who don't really have proper training. But on the other side, of all the people who have the problem, less than half of them have been adequately diagnosed, and of those, less than a quarter are receiving proper treatment.
Is medication always part of the treatment for you?
Most of the time, yes. For the vast majority of people, there's a need for the aid of the medicine to correct that biological difference that's there.
Medication, in concert with coaching and counseling, seems to work for most of Dr. Lydon's patients and many others across the country. But there are families who've had to seek an alternative.
What's the first thing you have to do when you're cooking?
In rural Vermont, 12-year-old Wilson lives with his mother, Renee, a divorced teacher.
Okay, so now you know what you need to do?
What, make my bed?
Yes, make your bed.
Wilson has severe ADHD, and over the last 7 years, he's worked hard to manage it. Today, he follows directions and can handle responsibilities.
He's an amazing kid. He really is. He's an amazing young man. Holy cow! Unbelievable, Will.
As a new mother, Renee had no idea the struggles her child would face down the road.
He was a baby. He was perfect. He was my world.
But at about 3 years old, Renee began to notice there was something unusual about her little boy.
He was impulsive. He was high energy. He was into everything. He was the kind of kid, don't put your finger in the light socket. It took him 4 times.
These behaviors began to raise real red flags when Wilson started preschool.
So what kinds of things started happening in school?
He couldn't control himself. He would get easily frustrated when forced to sit and work. He would disrupt the whole class. He had no impulse control at all.
Week after week, Renee fielded calls about Wilson's behavior.
End of kindergarten, he got into an argument with another classmate.
And he had to be escorted out. This is 1st grade.
He threw rocks at the student, called the teacher an effing bitch. Then he called himself an effing stupid idiot. Is this hard to read?
Oh, these are the worst years of my life. Worst years of my life.
Wilson, why do you think you had those kinds of outbursts, and why do you think you were so angry all the time?
Because my life was just pure negative cloud raining over me. Giant black cloud. A kid come to church one time, and I broke his nose.
Why did you do that?
Got so angry, I punched him in the nose.
Is it hard to control that?
Extremely. It just build up until I burst.
Do you remember your thoughts when a lot of that stuff would happen?
I had no thoughts. And everything sharp went out of sight.
He knew he was different. He knew he couldn't control himself.
Did he think he was bad?
Oh, yeah. He thought he was a horrible, horrible child.
This whole time, what is going through your mind?
A lot of things go through your mind. One of them being, I was utterly failing as a parent. And I just couldn't understand how to fix it.
Renee had Wilson evaluated and learned that he not only had ADHD, but something called oppositional defiant disorder, a condition marked by anger, outbursts, and aggression. For treatment, Wilson's pediatrician recommended medications like antidepressants and stimulants.
Seroquel,
Citalopram, amphetamine.
While medications have worked for many kids with ADHD, they were not helping Wilson. Some of the pills made him sick.
That's the scary stuff right there.
Others made him fall asleep in school. They tried every combination.
It was supposedly the only way we could get him to function and be in school. But obviously it didn't work. It did not work.
Here you go, guys.
After 2 years of taking medication that didn't help, in a school that couldn't cope with him, Wilson reached his lowest point at the end of 2nd grade.
It was living hell. Excuse my language, but it was.
At just 7 years old, Wilson told his mother that if he had to go back to school, he would commit suicide.
And when you think back on that time, how do you feel?
It makes my heart just kind of sad. I felt like my life was just going to lead me nowhere.
He was begging me not to bring him back to school. And he just told me, well, if you keep making me go to school, I'm gonna kill myself.
And what did you think when he said that?
I pulled him out of school. I finally heard him. Wash your teeth and brush your face.
Renee had hired an advocate to help her fight for a specialized education plan for Wilson. But in the end, the public school was not equipped to deal with her son.
Come on, let's go. We're gonna be late.
Required by law to help children get an appropriate education if they can't provide it, the school finally agreed to help pay to send Wilson elsewhere.
There's not many schools that are equipped to deal with these children. And they're extraordinary children, but they don't fit into the majority of public school settings. They just don't. Thank you, young man.
You're welcome.
Renee began searching for a place for Wilson, a place that had the resources and know-how to accommodate children with ADHD. And just 2 hours away, she found it. It's 6 a.m., and Renee and Wilson are on the road.
I want you to have an awesome day, Wilson.
I will.
At the beginning of every week, Renee drives 2 hours to take Wilson to the place that saved him, to the place that saved them both. Nestled in the mountains of New Hampshire is the Hunter School, a residential and day school for boys and girls aged 5 to 15 with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and related conditions.
Okay, well.
For the past 4 years, Wilson has been coming here, first as a day student, now as a weekly boarder.
What they have to offer is life-changing, and I want them to have every last minute of that. I can't give them anything near what they do. Have a great week.
I will.
The Hunter School is one of the few in the country that takes a holistic approach to ADHD. Classes are small, one teacher to every 3 students. There's no television or media, and the culture is all about encouragement.
Very good.
But perhaps the biggest thing that sets the Hunter School apart is their emphasis on reducing or eliminating medication. Instead, the school provides a calm setting and a new perspective on ADHD. They use the term energetically sensitive. Associate Director Lori Ferris tells me it helps the kids reframe the way they think about themselves.
Why is it so important to characterize them as energetically sensitive?
These kids feel everything. They're very passionate, they're very energetic, they're very sensitive. Those are positive attributes if put in the right kind of environment. And so as soon as you tell a parent your child is energetically sensitive, it provides so much hope in how people perceive that child and allows him to start fulfilling that vision of who that child truly is.
The Hunter School practices what they call energetic mindfulness to help the kids center themselves.
Bring your breath in very slowly. Begin to think about how you're feeling. How are you feeling energetically?
We work with energy exercises and meditation because they're so used to being so out of control that they haven't experienced what it's like to be calm and peaceful and focused.
What does it really mean to be in your center? Preston.
When there's a balance between negative and positive energy.
When the negative things come up, then it makes you feel bad, but then you look at the positive stuff and it makes you feel good.
You choose it, huh?
Yeah.
After 40 minutes of discussion and meditation, I've not seen one child lose focus or leave the room.
You all are so calm and peaceful. Before you came to this school, do you think you would have been able to do this?
No, definitely not.
What would have happened? What would have been going on with you?
Like, no one would like me because, like, I'll be angry at them for a little thing.
Feel like you've changed a lot since you've been here?
Yes. When I get angry, I kind of hold it in and then let it out before just letting it out.
Anybody else?
I used to throw huge temper tantrums. I used to be like the kid that no one really wanted to be around when they were angry. The school's definitely helped me a lot.
How about you?
I wouldn't be able to sit still and I wouldn't be able to just sit here.
Okay, so we're gonna count up by 2s?
Yeah.
At the Hunter School, they also teach traditional classes like math and English.
They were good at trading, and they had been influenced by the Phoenicians and the Greeks.
Tough subjects that can easily frustrate any child. But here, when a child temporarily loses focus and self-control, notices aren't sent home. Parents aren't called. Instead, teachers take the student out of class to a special place.
Ouch!
You okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
Focus on me.
So a couple of times we've seen kids taken out of the classroom because they were being disruptive, and a teacher will come out and walk the halls with them or sit with them in the mindful room to help them calm down. The idea is for them to get centered again so that they can go back into the classroom and be calm.
So what do you think we should do over the next few weeks to try to make it so you stay in class and you get work done? Because you know you're smart enough to do the work.
Keep my goodness level extra high and my badness level rock bottom.
I love the way you're talking.
Once a daily visitor to the mindful room, Wilson now rarely spends time there. He now owns his actions, responds well to criticism, and feels empowered.
At the end of the tunnel would be the city of light she had dreamed about. I used to hate to read. Hated it. Be brave, I said to myself. Keep going. Now I love it.
Nobody gets hurt on this? Go, Wilson. Whoa.
Wilson! Wilson!
4 years at the Hunter School has transformed a child who was once lost and misunderstood.
I have a new life now. I actually have teachers that accept me. I have more than 30 best friends. I learned how to cope with things. If it wasn't for that school, I wouldn't be here right now.
You know that for sure?
Definitely. I would probably be 6 feet under the ground.
So the Hunter School saved your life?
Basically.
Are you taking any kind of medication at all?
Clear off.
Nothing at all?
Nothing, except a vitamin.
Okay, stop me now.
Want some help?
I'm good.
He did it all himself. Being brave, working hard, and learning the skills he needed to learn.
Do you think all kids with ADHD should follow this path and get off medication?
No, I think that's a very personal decision. It's between a family and their doctor and their child. It was the right choice for us to make. I knew he could be this kid. I just didn't know how to get there. There's no doubt that that school saved his life. They've taught him how to control his impulses. They've taught him how to love himself.
Clearly, this school is providing something that works for families, but it comes at a price, a steep tuition fee. In Wilson's case, his school district covered the cost, but not every family can afford or find supportive funding for a specialized education. For Noah, there's no alternative like the Hunter School nearby. And even if there were, his family doesn't have the resources to pay for it.
Come on.
So he and his parents are headed back to the doctor. Today, Noah will see if medication can manage his ADHD. With his failing grades, Amber and Pete feel it's their best and only option.
Now I realize that Noah really does need medication and he cannot succeed without it. This is a disorder and it does need to be addressed rather than pushed under the rug.
You ready?
But medication doesn't work for every child. Will it work for Noah? It's the morning of Noah's doctor's appointment. He and his parents have traveled all the way to Pittsburgh to the Being Well Center, a clinic that provides testing and monitored medication along with coaching and counseling. No one knows the exact causes of ADHD, but scientists believe there's a strong genetic component.
Quit. Do you have to wrestle all the time?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Several years ago, Noah's father, Pete, was actually diagnosed with ADHD in a veterans hospital.
I've always been a very hyper person. Even when I'm watching TV, I'm flipping through the channels because I can't sit still. I gotta be doing something with my hands. It's been a struggle, staying focused.
Down the road, Pete plans on getting another evaluation to confirm. But for now, the focus is on helping Noah.
I'm a little nervous.
What do you think will happen?
I don't know. That's why I'm nervous.
This is a big step. I mean, I feel like this is the beginning of endless possibilities for Noah.
Come on back, Noah. I have to get your blood pressure, your height and weight, okay?
Noah will undergo what is called a trial test.
Be as still as a statue.
Taking a short-acting medication the same day as the office visit. The goal is for the doctor to view the results right away.
Okay.
And determine if it's the proper drug and dosage. But before the trial begins, Noah's ability to focus without medication will be evaluated through a series of tests.
Come on back, sweetie. We're gonna go back to that little room at the end of the hall, okay?
Okay.
The results will act as a baseline to compare with his performance on medication.
Okay, I'm gonna show you some faces, sweetheart. Look here. Are those two the same or are they different, Noah?
Same.
I'm gonna show you more faces on the next pages.
Those two?
I think you could see where he started to lose his attention.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting to get frustrated.
Those two?
It's another one wrong.
I think from the results of the testing, clearly those problems are still there with his attention span starting to tail off, getting a little more fidgety, and then more careless, impulsive errors as the testing went on.
The testing confirms what they already know. Noah needs help, and Dr. Leiden feels medication is part of the answer. While it doesn't come without possible risks like anxiety, insomnia, and weight loss, the family is prepared to give it a try.
There's so many options. My instinct is that he's going to be somebody who would respond best to stimulant medications.
There are lots of stimulants on the market, like Adderall, Concerta, Vyvanse, and Ritalin. For Noah, Dr. Leiden recommends a drug called Focalin.
Are there any side effects we should be looking for?
Number one, appetite suppression. Number two is some people have disruption of their sleep patterns. After that, there aren't a lot of predictable side effects that happen.
Okay.
I'll just be glad to see him get some help.
All right, here you go.
Noah will take his medication at lunch and return an hour and a half later for retesting when the drug is at its peak.
I feel like this is our last hope. I don't know what we would do if the medicine didn't work.
Can you sit on your butt? You ready, Freddie?
His future depends on this medicine and if it helps him or not, because he clearly cannot function on his own. Good job.
Now we just wait.
Amber's hopes are not unrealistic. For many kids, medication does work. I'm about to meet another little boy whose life, and that of his family, was completely transformed. While Noah has just taken the first dose of his ADHD medication, another family, almost 600 miles away, has found success with the same treatment plan. 10-year-old Grant has ADHD.
You ready for your pill?
Both a short attention span and hyperactivity. And for 3.5 years, he's been taking a tiny pill to help curb these symptoms. For his parents, Cappy and Christian, both educators, putting their son on medication was a difficult choice that paid off.
It is definitely an effective tool for managing ADHD. That's the big thing that I try to relay to people is it is a tool.
Hey, Mom, guess what a red square means for the ocean?
I have no idea. Oh.
Danger.
I'm gonna make sure that I'm constantly partnering with him so that he's respecting the medication and understanding, you know, when he needs to take it and how long he needs to take it to be successful.
4 years ago, Grant was hyperactive and constantly on the move. Now he's the one telling others to slow down.
Walk on right down there, please.
While school can be a difficult place for many children with ADHD,
Walk on red, please.
for Grant, it's where he shines.
Here's your first problem.
He's made the 5th grade honor roll this year, a far cry from 1st grade when he couldn't focus enough to learn to read. Grant's teacher, Mr. Marsh, has seen him flourish firsthand.
He's doing great. He'll drift off a little bit here and there, but the thing he has going for him is he's very driven. When he's not successful, he's very unhappy about it. He's very hard on himself.
While Grant seems to be the ultimate achiever, in his early school years, he struggled.
Come on, Grant, find your man.
He was unable to focus and unaware of boundaries, and was prone to outbursts. How often were you getting calls or notes from school about Grant?
Daily.
Daily.
One day, the teacher called and said Grant bit her and scratched her to the point where she was bleeding.
Oh.
He would throw things across the room. He would take his clothes off. Just energy that was just uncontrollable.
Every day there was something.
Beyond the classroom, it got to the point where Grant's inability to focus began to disrupt the entire family.
I remember having a family meeting and talking to the kids about it, and one of my kids said, I love him, but I hate him because he frustrates me. He spoils everything.
What do you want to paint tonight?
3D couches.
3D couches?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right now, you're so calm and so focused on your painting, but were you very different 4 years ago?
Yes, ma'am. Sometimes I would get into, like, disagreements with people or fights.
Do you feel like you were just angry a lot?
Yeah.
Do you think that before medication, that was you? Was that Grant? Or do you feel more like yourself now that you're on medication?
I feel more like myself because without my medication, I would be not paying attention in class, even though I knew I could, and I just wouldn't. That's where it kind of went.
That's a pretty darn cool couch. I'm impressed. You're the couch master.
Thank you.
So would you say that you are advocates for medication for kids with ADHD?
Every person is different. I can say for our particular situation, it worked out very well.
Just because you give medication to an ADHD child, that child is not fixed. People have to understand that's just an answer to maybe one aspect of ADHD, but there's many other parts that have to be managed.
Right.
In addition to medication, Cappy used behavior modification techniques like set schedules for homework.
Okay, so let's check the answers. That one's correct, and you can give that a check.
And at school, she enlisted the help of Grant's administrators, counselors, and teachers.
In order for your child to be successful, you have to make a team. You have to just ensure that you have all of those forces constantly working together, constantly communicating for the good of your child.
Together, they created special tools for Grant, like yellow overlays to help him focus while reading.
Number 10, Sally makes her own clothes from her own patterns. What can we put in that place?
I've noticed that there are additional educators in classes with kids with ADHD. Why is there a need for that in schools?
Because a kid like Grant can succeed with the right supports. And before we had all these accommodations and modifications, a child like that, we would just say, oh, you're not college material, you know. A learning disability does not make somebody stupid. They can be very intelligent. It's just they have to have a different way of showing that intelligence.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
For now, medication has proven to be the right solution for Grant's childhood.
All right, here we go.
Do the other one?
Yep.
But what about Noah? He and his family are about to discover if medication will set him on the right path. In Pittsburgh at the Being Well Center,
Thank you.
Noah and his family are about to find out if medication can help him focus his attention.
We're gonna go back to that same room.
Are we gonna do the test over again?
And yes.
Okay. So it's like a before and after.
Absolutely. So you took the medicine about an hour and a half ago. What have you noticed?
Well, even though it's just been a short time, I feel like I can think straighter now. It's like when I'm trying to think about one thing, I can just think about it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Are you ready to look at those faces again?
Yep.
Okay. Look at these two. Are those the same or different?
Those are the same. Those are.
He's being so much more confident now.
That one's open, that one's looking that way, and that one's looking that way in the eyebrow.
Absolutely.
That one.
While Dr. Lydon and team review the results of Noah's testing, Noah and his parents have a chance to react to his performance.
Good job. I only got -1.
Did you feel more confident in your decisions?
I feel like jumping up and down right now.
I think this is really gonna work, Noah.
I know.
We'll go over the results of the testing. He nearly aced the testing this afternoon. The overall focus was better. His self-monitoring was substantially better than before. A dramatic improvement in things. I'll help you set up a time with one of our counselors so we can start to work on the independent functioning and the task and homework management parts of things and work with you to refine your management of things.
Yay. Noah's a very intelligent child, and I've always known that. There wasn't a doubt in my mind. Good job.
I'm proud of you.
Hey, you did a really great job, man.
So I'm excited now. I'm excited to see if this really helps him to succeed.
Have a safe trip back home.
All right, have a good weekend.
Yep.
As Noah adjusts to medication, he and his family will return for monitoring and counseling. While this process has given them some clarity, for me personally, it's created more questions. Despite a fairly successful career, all my life I've had trouble focusing. And while ADHD is often considered a childhood condition, for many, it's not diagnosed until adulthood. Now, inspired by working on this program, I've decided it's time to find out if I have an attention disorder. I have always had a bit of a difficult time focusing on things that aren't interesting to me, and I get really, really anxious before taking any kind of test or having any kind of evaluation. So we'll see what the doctor has to say about me.
What are your key areas of concern?
As a journalist, when I'm immersed in a story, then I feel like I can laser focus. But if I'm not working, my mind goes in every direction but where it's supposed to go. I've been like that since I was a kid.
What about elementary school?
My teacher was calling my dad to meetings all the time to say I had focus issues.
So high school, how did that go?
I could go through an entire period and not retain a sentence if I weren't interested in the topic or the subject matter.
Did that make you nervous or anxious?
Around test time, yeah.
So how did you do at USC?
I dropped out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Ling.
All that right there is coca.
Instead of struggling through my final years of classes, I found another path. At 19, I was lucky enough to get a job as a reporter for Channel 1, a show seen in high school classrooms across the country. I found what I was passionate about. You know, I got a chance to travel all over the world. I was working on so many different stories all the time.
Right, perfect.
You know, as a journalist, I interview people and I am locked in, I'm engaged. But if it's something that I'm not interested in, I'm gone.
It's not uncommon in lots of people with ADD is that they are able under certain circumstances to hyper-focus and sometimes really excel at what they do.
Now that I've shared some of the challenges of my past, it's time for the second part of the evaluation. Okay. In a room with a one-way mirror, I'll undergo the same tests that were used to diagnose Noah.
Put your right hand on my left shoulder.
My right hand on your left shoulder.
Okay. Look at those two, Lisa, and tell me, are those two faces the same or are they different?
Same.
Okay.
Whoa, okay. These are gonna haunt me. Wait, wait. Yes, okay. Bolts, hieroglyphics. That was on my piano. It's a musical, a musical measurement device.
Starts with an M, does that help?
I forgot.
I can come back to these.
Okay. Like, I feel really stressed out right now. You know what it is? I was so anxious that I couldn't.
Right, well, that's a good example. What was happening for you is your temperament or your intensity played a role, and that's just as important as your attention. Okay, Lisa, that's it.
Okay. It's now that I find out if my focus problems are caused by more than just the usual distractions.
I think that there's really 2 or 3 key things that sort of came out of. The one that really sticks out at the top is any part of the testing that demanded focused, sustained attention, you had much more struggle with.
Right.
And then the other test with the pictures that she had you name, your performance was below what both Jane and I would have anticipated.
I thought I did well on that one.
That was a test that really tapped in on all of the issues simultaneously. The need to focus, the ability to process and retrieve things efficiently. So if we were to put all of that stuff together, I do feel like you meet all the criteria for having attention deficit disorder.
Dr. Lydon believes I actually do have ADHD, the type without hyperactivity, often called ADD. While it's something I suspected, the news still takes me by surprise.
My head is kind of spinning, but I feel a little bit of relief because for so
Absolutely.
long I've been fighting it and been so frustrated with this inability to focus. Like it's
Right.
been such a source of frustration for me.
My belief is that if you've got a biologically based problem with your ability to pay attention, then you're a candidate for using medication. I don't see the medicine as being the sole treatment. We're going to help refine the strategies that you do have right now and develop some new ones to help you function at a much higher plane than even where you are right now. It's sort of exciting to think where things could go.
Today, I join the ranks of 15 million Americans with ADHD. And while I consider the many paths I've seen different families take, I've come to realize that what's important is to embrace who you are. To know that with help, it's possible to learn and achieve success, just like anyone else.
Look, no one wants to hear they have deficiencies, but in a way, I feel kind of liberated because I've always been inhibited by something that I've never been able to identify. And now that I have, I actually look forward to doing better. I'm excited about the possibilities. I look at today as a good day.
I'm excited to give you an update about our own YouTube channel. Now you can find new videos every day. They're the kind of videos that will make you look at life differently. They may even make you laugh a little bit. Subscribe to the OWN channel today, and we'll see you on YouTube.